What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we are here to talk about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and the Joker DLC. So you know what? Ask and you shall receive. You know, we talked about this last week. The silence is deafening. There is no communication. Yes, there's those Friday blogs, but as I've said actually to people in the comments of that video, you got to be real, and you got to actually ask yourself how many people are clicking to read those blogs. There was a lack of communication. Now we get something, and I do want to talk about the split because they announce it, they tell us the date, and I think a lot of people were okay with it, and a lot of people were very, very mad at it. And, we try to see kind of both sides on this channel. I have, obviously, my opinion as well. But to quickly just go over what we actually got, we got a tweet from them. Get ready for Season 1. The jokes are coming March 28th. Suicide Squad game, and we get a new screenshot. And it's a nice screenshot. I think it looks really nice. Have it as the background here. It looks nice and clean. The game's visuals is one of the better parts, one of the better qualities of the game. And okay, so it's set. And I'm pretty, I don't know if I would say excited. Maybe I'm excited, but I'm definitely interested to see what happens here. We're going to get quite a bit on the 28th, I imagine. And I am eager, let's say, to jump back in to see what this new story content's going to be and just to kind of monitor the situation, right? Like, what's it going to add long term? Is it going to keep people around till whenever the next thing is? Do they get ahead of it, and do they talk about the next season right around the time this season comes out? Those are the things I'm going to be looking out for because I'm just really interested in it. But then, of course, again, the fan feedback, right? So it definitely was split. Now, here's the thing. I can understand it to a degree. As I said on Twitter, honestly, this was not a shock in the slightest. I should have tweeted it. I should have wrote it down somewhere because I do like to prove to people that I do get things right from time to time. But I predicted in my head the final week in March. That has always been when I thought this thing was going to come out. Not the first week, not the second week, the final week in March. So I know people are upset because it's literally the latest you can go on the on the calendar of March without then going into April, right? So I do understand that. And I also think, I think a lot of the frustration stems with the last blog post, which, for those that didn't read it or didn't see it, I think a lot of people that play the game did actually see it. But they basically talked about, right, they're delaying patches at this point to make sure the DLC is ready. And yeah, I got some thoughts on that too. They're in a tough spot. They're in a very tough spot because from what I am seeing, it doesn't seem like the game is running all that well, right? Like, for every patch that they do, it seems to ruin something else, and it prevents people from whatever, right? There's actually quite a few issues of whether it's people kind of redeeming rewards or getting rewards, or sometimes just logging on and getting into the map. Everything is seemingly breaking based off the last patch. So I do think is very true. You got to have your game in order. The game needs to be working before you have future content, okay? And I do understand that. At the same time, they're in a tough spot because it's like they need the new content. It is the worst spot to possibly be in. They did it to themselves. I really don't blame anybody but them. So I'm not saying it's on the fans or anything. They're in a situation where they need content, clearly, to either get new people or to get people back that played it maybe the first couple days, first couple weeks, and that left, right? That is a factual observation and statement, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? They need new stuff. They know they need new stuff, and they're working on it. It's coming out, you know what I mean? And you get the date. I'm not mad at the date, and I'm not mad that it's at the end of the month. I think, or at least I assume, a lot of the frustration stems with they issued, the update saying, hey, we're going to delay the patch. And I don't know, are they going to do a patch this week? Are they going to do one next week? Because now they're in a sticky situation. You have all of March. We're on March 4th here, right? You got 3 full weeks in March before you get to that DLC. And it's are you not going to do a patch any of those weeks because you're preparing for the DLC? Or was it just 1 week that you're delaying it just to get things ready? I don't know. And the communication, again, hasn't really been there all that much. So it's hard to tell. Maybe they'll update us, on this week's blog, and you can go from there. But I get it. I get why people are upset about it. But at the same time, if this is the price that they need to pay to make sure that their game is running well before the DLC comes out, I do think that's the right decision. Should the game have needed to take this long to get? No, but that's a problem with the entire industry with these live service like titles or games that have these kind of systems and rely on the kind of things that Suicide Squad does. A lot of them have issues, and some are a little bit more prepared for sure than others, but you're bound to run into this. It's one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of the genre, right? Although I've given games chances and I've covered them and I've enjoyed some of them as well, it's something that I overwhelmingly hate. It should not take, let me just rant for a couple seconds here, shouldn't take a month to make the game run at like full capacity where everything is up and running. The game's been out a month, people paid for it for full price, and during that time, you may have had issues. That's not fair. That's not right. And that's the problem with, hey, you have the game on the disc and preservation, all that jazz that we've talked about. So get the game working. I don't care necessarily when the DLC comes out. They'll get to it when they get to it. I think it is more important that the game gets running. And then, you have to turn your attention to that DLC, and you got to make sure there's stuff there. So, again, like, I maybe I'm excited. I don't know. I don't know what kind of word I'd like to use for like what I'm thinking of when it comes to this DLC. I definitely want to see it. I've said it before, and I'll absolutely say it again. Like, I'm gonna play it. March 28th. Mark your calendars. Alex is returning to Suicide Squad. Like, that will happen, right? So I do want to see what they add to it. I want to see if people come back, and I kind of want to hear about the future. Because as we keep saying, or as I keep saying at least, this game is not gonna last. If they wanted it to last, say 2 years or whatever, it's absolutely not going to do that. It might last a year. Honestly, I would take the under on that bet right now. I think it's going to last maybe 6, 7, 8 months, and we'll see what happens after that. But you should still start to hear about the next one if there is a next one, right? So let's see what happens. But this DLC first, Season 1 first, and then we can worry about the other stuff later. Let me know what you think. Make sure you're subscribed, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.